So that's always a value. Next page, the conclusion principles. This is all from our book, so I'm not taking any of this. Well, okay, a little bit. Some of the parentheses you see may be boil downs or restatements, but also in the book How to Prepare Sermons by William Evans, there is a portion on conclusions, so I may be taking some of that as well. Good. Okay. You have to remember that the conclusion should be brief. Evans says the conclusion should be no longer than your introduction was, which I think is a great way of trying to describe it. That adds balance. Your intro, you have the body, and then the conclusion, and they sort of offset each other. No one dominates the sermon, so that makes a good point. Your conclusion needs to be simple. Your focus is to be clear in what you're bringing out to them, not necessarily grandiose. Like I have said before, if you're focusing on the pericope of the, you've lost people. I still don't know what a pericope is, but yes, I've heard numerous preachers, the pericope of the, what in the world? Okay, so, and as you realize these are the final words, as you are finishing your sermon, you need to be aware that this is an area that requires a good portion of your attention in order to do it properly. There are some examples. Vivid reproduction of the leading thought that you can actually read it again from the text itself. You can read other appropriate passages that help to support what you've already brought. And that was, I guess that's along the lines of the what I said, where will you be faithful over a few things so that you can be blessed to be ruler over many, which is brought from Scripture. And then it says, gives an example of a poem or hymn stanza. I think you've heard Pastor Hunt say it many times. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pains we bear, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. That's from a song, but it's a wonderful way to restate the obvious. So you can use poem or hymn stanzas without question. And then another one would be the forceful challenge or appeal, to say, so what does this mean to you? Are you up for this? Is this the example? Another example I saw was about Jesus and the two men hanging on the crosses with him, one repentant, one unrepentant. And, the example given was, you're one of those two. You choose. Which one are you right now? That's the challenge. Make them consider their current situation and why they need to move from that or move towards something. All totally appropriate in the conclusion. And the one thing to remember for you as you're presenting this, make sure that your conclusion is brief in your outline, because you don't want to be moving along, appropriate transitions, just get yourself out of the body and you start to try and recapitulate it all and finish it all up, and you go down and start reading. We need to remember that, the important part of this is that you are communicating the message. So when you break, they have free license to break themselves, and off they go, looking at kids or whatever. So that's why the example here says to make sure it's brief in your outline and practiced, so that you keep that focus, you keep that attention, you keep that psychological dialogue going.